All right, folks. Welcome to one of the strangest, in my opinion, episodes of the Clipping Point. Um, your host, Captain Ben, and this time around, not with me, is Tim Murphy. But we have.
Ta-da! It's me, Noel. We're live from here in my garage. We're doing the whole Zoom meeting thing. I don't think this is gonna turn out too well, but we're doing our best. We had a situation or several situations this week where we couldn't all get together in Tim's garage or Paul's garage, where Tim is out on vacation. Paul is somewhat unavailable for some reason. Oh, I guess his garage is still full because he's still moving in, so it's kind of tough to uh, meet up in there. And then in my situation is my little brother and sister, they have COVID. I've been staying away from them, uh, but I don't want to meet up with anybody and possibly spread it around. I want to be as safe as possible with the whole situation. So it is a real thing out there. It's out there. Luckily, we all feel fine. We're good. My little sister had a little cough. She feels great. My little brother had a small little fever. She feels great now. So hopefully we'll get over this and we're good there. So that's the situation. That's why we're doing what we're doing today. Um, but yeah, we have a big show ahead of us. We have a lot of
If you
little
even want to
things.
call it a show, because I like to uh, title it as
Hey,
Nose Notes.
Nose notes. I'm not even gonna look at my notes because I'm on the Zoom meeting and all my notes are on the phone. So I
Oh,
don't want to have to.
I'm going to test you.
Yeah. Oh, you're gonna test me. Okay. All right. Cool. So yeah. Again, we have a lot to talk about. A lot has happened over the past week or so in Formula Drift and elsewhere. So let's get on with it.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously, Irwindale was the final round of the what has proven to be one of the craziest seasons of the year. Well, actually, one of the craziest seasons of the whole history of the Formula Drift series, and to finally see it come to an end was an achievement. Is an achievement when you
Yeah.
consider how like there's the odds were against them from the get go. I mean, nobody even expected for an event to for a whole series to occur, and it did. They made it, and now what transpired, some may argue may be uneventful, but I don't know. I mean, not many. Everybody has a difference of opinion.
Yeah. And that is everybody has a right to that opinion, of course. Now the thing is, we gotta. I'm thankful for Formula Drift to be able to bring out a season amidst the situation that everybody is in, not only here in the United States but the whole world. And even though a lot of drivers missed out because either they weren't making ends meet with the whole situation, or because they couldn't come over from international water over international waters. Um, they there still were international drivers, and we still had enough drivers to put on a really good show. Um, Granted, we didn't have James Dean or Piotr this year. Daigo, I almost called him Diego. Diego Santos. Daigo Saito didn't make it over either this year. He was slated to run FD this year, but hopefully all this can change next year. We don't know anything yet, and but you know we still had a season. It was still a great season, but we all felt like something was missing. But regardless of that, thank you Formula Drift for bringing out a season. I mean, to for us, I mean, we're the fans. We are the fans, and when they were calling out that they were canceling events, and and we didn't know what was gonna happen. I mean, it was just I was gutted. I mean, Formula D is one of the things I look forward to the most when it is on that weekend.
Aside from
So,
football, which begs the question: football or FD?
wow, man. I'm a Packers fan. I'm a Packers fan. But I had the Packers game on the other day, but I had FD on my phone. I was like, I'm still watching, man. I can't I can't say no. I can't say no. I love drifting. Drifting is my passion. I love football and everything, but I mean, it's I don't really do much with it. I just watch the games. Drifting is something I am involved with, and we even know people who are involved in this world, in the Formula Drift world, in the professional rings. So yeah, my heart always will go to FD. It's just if you're gonna tell me not to watch a Green Bay Packers game, we're gonna have a problem. So, so yeah, that was it.
All right. So you want to get into the round seven?
Well, first I'm gonna before we get into round seven, we're not gonna really cover Pro Two. We didn't have enough time to really prepare this stuff, but I do want to say that Pro Two had its own excitement going around it. I mean, we had about 4 or 5 drivers that were up for grabs in the championship. Jonathan Hurst came in leading the championship, and he lost in the top 32 battle against Nick Novak. And that pretty much gave a clear path for Dimitri Bruschi to just go on and win the Pro 2 championship with other people falling out, like Josh Love, which had crashed on the Thursday practice, but he still came out and competed, but you could tell his car wasn't 100%. And then you had also Austin Mata out there, but I believe he got knocked out in the top 16. I could be wrong, but yeah, or top 8, something like that. And I think he went into the wall pretty hard too. There was a lot of crashes in Pro 2. I mean, Irwindale may not be Long Beach, but it has enough walls, and the way you're approaching that inner bank wall is pretty terrifying. So, I mean, uh, but hey, a lot of these guys they went out there, they drove their hardest. It was awesome to watch Pro 2, and congrats to Dimitri Bruschi for winning the Pro 2 championship. Hope to see him in the pro ranks next year or sometime in the near future.
Yeah. And when you consider how he had that major crash where he lost the Z4, didn't he?
Yes. Okay. So before the season started, before Formula D season started, he was using Michael S's old BMW Z4, and he was using Clutch Kickers, the Gambler up in English Town, and a few other events here and there. And in English Town, he had a pretty hard wreck. Now, if you watch the wreck itself, you're like, well, he went into the wall, but it's fixable. No, when they pick that car up, you just see the whole suspension falling out of the car. That thing was not in good shape. That track, as simple as it is, even though it's technically a figure eight, has taken out a lot of cars. So when Formula D does eventually go to that track, because they were supposed to go this year, but that didn't happen, I think we're, even as simple as the layout is, we're gonna see a hell of a show over there. But unfortunately, that means it took Dimitri's car out. Luckily for him, he took one of Essa's old cars. He just bought it off of Essa, and Essa's still there giving him support. You know, even though it's not his car anymore. So that's awesome, and it obviously helped. Interesting fact about Brutski: he round one for Pro Two, he makes it to St. Louis, which is where it was held, and did not turn a practice lap, not one practice lap, and he still came out in fourth place. That to me is a testament of his driving skill. So this guy, and you could see if you were to go back to the Pro Two event, you can see his lead runs were what Pro One guys were supposed to be doing, all the way up on outer zone one, which was pretty challenging in itself. But I mean, just rubbing the rear bumper on it and just taking a perfect line everywhere, full commitment, full throttle everywhere. I mean, it was awesome to watch. I think he's going to be a threat to next year if he does make the jump to pro.
Okay. Well, um, to start off with the round 7, and to also highlight Noel's notes, he actually
Yeah,
started off with the points um roundup of the series going into round 7, where you had
yeah,
Vonnegut with 428 points, Ryan Turk with 420, Chris Forsberg with 364, Chelsea Denofa 336, and Frederick Osbo with 332, which that could tell you if you were actually following along. It wasn't a definitive answer in regards to who was going to win the championship because with all these 5 gentlemen, so I
hmm
mean, Oswald had to obviously work more considering how he again had almost 100 points advantage. But again, you never know what could happen in Formula Drift. So obviously, with that in mind, all 5 of these individuals were battling it out for the title.
yeah. And you got to also remember there's 2 rounds left. So round 7 and round 8, right? So that's a potential 200 points given to any one of these drivers. So somebody can run away with it, or somebody can catch up and surpass the other guy. And you'll see throughout the weekend how it shuffles. Drivers start moving up, and or other drivers start falling down because things happen. Granted, also another thing to remember: this was round 7 at Irwindale. These drivers and cars had a compressed season. Going into round 7, these cars were beat up. They were bad. So, looking at that, yeah, maybe some of these guys made it up there, in the top 5, but at the same time, they probably used up everything they had in the first 6 rounds of the season. So, we'll go on to see what happens here.
Yeah. So to start things off, actually, let's go into the first battle. Hang on, because I'm trying to set something up here so that way everybody can hear properly. So the first battle
Mhm.
that you wanted to talk about was involving Ryan Turk against Kyle Mohan, right?
Yeah, yeah. Nothing too spectacular happened here, although in my screen it's kind of like a little high, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Uh, Turk did what Turk does. He just has a great lead run, and he just keeps it safe against Bohan on his chase run. Uh, as you can see here, he's doing his lead through here, and I mean, he just hits all his marks. Bohan is having a hard time keeping up with the line and the angle. Although I'm seeing like a very, give me 1 second. Ah, there we go. I got it. I'm still working on how to work Zoom, guys.
Ha!
Technology is not my friend, but it's actually pretty nice to see Mohan out there. You could tell like his line wasn't as nice as Turk's. Turk, and he loses him right through that first inner clip. Mohan just falls back really bad through there. He has to play catch up, but other than that, I mean, he's driving better than I've seen Mohan drive in recent years. So hopefully, this is a sign for the future. Now, this is, of course, the replay of the first run, but still going on. Of course, we don't have audio today. They're about to start their second run here. They're
Uh,
still waiting. Yeah. Well, anyway, so the outcome is Ryan Turk wins this battle. I mean, it's if you know Formula Drift, if you know the drivers, this is kind of. I don't want to ever say that any battle's a gimme, but from recent years, what we've seen, what we've witnessed, Ryan Turk can, potentially overpower Mohan pretty easily. Uh, Although Mohan has a pretty good lead line through outer zone one coming off of there, but Ryan Turk is staying with him. What happens in this battle isn't what actually happens between the drivers, but what happens to Ryan Turk's car. Shortly after this battle, they showed a picture of the team towing Ryan Turk's car off the track into the pits. What happened? Ryan Turk blew an engine, uh, which is pretty sad. I mean, especially considering the progress that Papadakis has made on that engine, but it is a four cylinder that's making 850 to 1,000 horsepower, depending on how much nitrous boost they're running. This weekend, they decided to turn it up because it is the final round. And then, yeah, so he ended up blowing the engine. Unreal, though. Within From the time he blew the engine to the top 16, the car was ready to go. So that was pretty impressive. So
So that was your major takeaway from that.
yeah, I mean the if you look at it in the sense of how much they hustled to get Ryan Turk back out there, he's in the championship hunt. He was second place, I believe, entering the competition. So it's time. It was like, hey, we still got a shot. We still got another engine. It's gonna suck for the next couple of hours, but we gotta get that engine in there and get them ready for top 16. That was that was pretty impressive in my eyes. I mean, we've seen them do it time and time again, but I'm still shocked at the fact that they can swap an engine out in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, and eventually it turned out to be like a very stressful and tumultuous weekend for the Papadakis racing team, considering how they had to work on both of the vehicles for
Yeah,
things that should have been for for something that has, for the most part, proven reliable for most of the season.
yeah, yeah, and it's just a testament to what they do. Number one, they're taking a four cylinder, making 1,000 horsepower, beating on the rev limiter, uh, throughout the year, and the thing has stayed, pretty well put together throughout the year. Then they're also taking on Osbo's Supra in an engine that people don't have too much information about. B58 is still relatively new, especially in the Supra platform, and not many people have made it to those power levels that Papadakis is pushing that engine to, which is over 1,000 horsepower and beating on the rev limiter on top of that. So props to them. I mean, the what they have achieved is incredible. So, but yeah, I mean, that's just these things do happen with even with the best developed cars. So seeing how well it's performed throughout the year, I'm shocked. I mean, that's unbelievable how well they're doing with those cars.
Yeah. Um. So the next one actually that you wanted to talk about was Mister Kearney against Osbo, since
Yeah,
it's fitting
yeah,
considering how we're still talking about the Papadakis team.
yeah, yeah. It is fitting. Now, this battle is this what happens in it is pretty crazy, but it has implications. Maybe not implications, but it has something to do with what happens in round eight, which we're going to cover. But I want you to see right here what happens when Kearney gets real close, bumping Osbo all over the place. Osbo's still on the track. Yes, he misses that inner clipping point. Obviously, Dean was trying to overtake, but it's clearly his fault. Dean does DB a tire on that run. So, I mean, there's that. But the fact is that Osbo could have been like, yo, you're hitting me, you're throwing me offline. I'm just gonna give it up. You know what I mean? But
I see where you're going with this.
yes, So, like I said, this does pertain to something that happens in round eight, which I will talk about. But I just wanted the viewers to see what happened here when somebody approaches another driver. When a driver approaches another driver and hits him and everything, Oswald had all the right to just be like, "Hey, I could throw this run, go off course, spin out, do whatever." But he stayed in it for the sake of the battle, for giving us a good show, for giving for proving that, hey, you can't shake me like that. So that's my piece on this battle. There's not much else for me to say about it. So, well, is there anything you would like to add, Ben?
Uh, no, not in particular with this battle. I'm just it is sort of a great example of what you're trying to get to in regards to the situation where,
Yeah,
I mean, sure, it's not the same. Obviously, different circumstances,
of course.
but it is sort of kind of gives you a bit of a reference when especially when you consider how both incidents happened at roughly the same area.
Yes. And there's going to be other incidents that do happen in that same area. And yeah, there have been times where somebody does get hit in that area and it does really affect the car, but it's very obvious, that it did affect the car. In fact, in this battle, you can see it does affect Osbo because it pushes him out, but Osbo stays in it either way. He stays in it. So, I mean, that's my piece on this battle. But I will bring this back up a little bit later down the road.
Yeah. Hang on, cause I'm trying to. Okay, this actually could work. Sweet. All right.
I also wanted to reiterate something here. Um, in round seven, uh, going into round seven, what Adam LZ was actually driving Odie Bacchus' car. Uh, so I don't know if you were going to pull that up or something,
No,
but it was something that
I
happened.
don't even have any sort of reference to pull it up, but go ahead.
But yeah, so he was driving Odie Bacchus' old competition car, the car that he used until 2019, the S14.5 supercharged LS V8. I mean, this is a car that is completely different to what he's used to, except for the actual chassis itself. But I mean, the suspension setup is different. The engine setup is way different. It's left-hand drive. He's not used to driving, and the grip level I think is different. Uh, Odie is a wizard when it comes to suspension tuning, but so he's getting into his car, and I will tell you right now, he makes it all the way to the top eight in this car, in a car he's never driven before, in a setup he doesn't even, he's not used to, a car that completely acts different. He was talking in his video about how like he can't really lay into the throttle like he would in his JZ car, because in any gear he'll just blow the tires and lose traction. He would actually have to finesse the throttle running up to the first corner, up to the initiation. So it was pretty impressive to see how he adapted to something that he was just thrown into, because he didn't have any prior testing. He didn't have. I think he did a couple practice laps with the car.
Yeah.
That to me is impressive. It's impressive. Another thing that I want to reiterate. Excuse me. Sorry, I thought I heard something there. Another thing I want to reiterate is that Chris Forsberg, he was in a backup car. His backup car is his demo car that makes half the power of what his pro car makes. It makes about 500 horsepower. It's not a VR setup. His VR engine in the comp car went out, so he was in his backup car, which is, like I said, a demo car. That thing, you could tell who just didn't want to get around Irwindale and his when he did his buy run. It was just kind of like you could even hear in the audio, like they have like several microphones placed in Irwindale, and each time he would pass by a microphone on the bank, each time would get the RPMs would be lower and lower and lower. It was kind of like, oof, really bad. So when it came time to the top 16, he decided to drop out of it because he said that his car isn't fast enough and it's it would be dangerous for the other competitors. If that's true, hey, kudos to him because I know that he's a competitor. He's one to always push hard and go after the championship. He was in the championship hunt. He was in third place. He could have just been like, hey, you know what? Let me see if I can get another step farther, make it into the grade eight. But he decided not to. So, um, as much as I'm not the biggest fan of Chris Forsberg, to be honest. And I know a lot of people who have the same sentiment as I do. I have to give him props for taking safety first and putting safety first, and rather than his own goal. So I'll give him that. Kudos to him.
And going back, what happened with LZ's car? I don't know if you mentioned it.
He just blew the 2J. The 2J in his car blew. I don't exactly know what happened. I know it's on one of his videos that he uploads. Uh, but yeah, so the engine went out, which is sad. But this isn't the first 2J he's blown. He's blown a couple of them this year. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's in who's building his engines, or if that's in his driving, or if he's going too crazy with the car. But yeah, so hopefully we'll see him again next year. Hopefully, maybe with a better program, but he has the potential to make it far. He's a good driver, and this was his first year, and he's rookie. By the way, I'm just gonna blurt it out right now. He's rookie of the year. Since we're not gonna be talking too much about that fact yet, so he's
Spoiler
rookie
alert.
of the year. Yeah. So I mean, and I think he already had it before even finishing round 7 because Alec Robbins, who was the closest one to him at that point, didn't make it to Texas. And then you also had Jonathan Aaron, but uh, uh, he was too far back. So
All right. So let's get back to the action. Let's bring up another highlight that you wanted to talk about. We got Jeff Jones against Mr. Taguchi.
yeah, this is a really odd one. This is well, I don't know if this is
Well, what
what's this
makes it odd?
thing?
Whoa. Okay, a bit of a correction over here as Jeff Jones is in the first turn on the bank. Major correction. So
Yeah.
let's see what happens
Oh
over
yeah.
here.
So I think it's in Jeff Jones's lead run, is it? Yeah. So I mean, it's just a clean battle here. I mean, nothing too out of the ordinary, at least from what I saw there.
Well,
My video's a little choppy.
okay, hang on. Skipping forward as Jeff Jones now takes the lead.
Yeah. So this
So
is top 16
yeah,
still,
top
I
16,
believe.
round 7. The
Hmm.
lights are up, which, by the way, I forgot to mention that the,
Yeah. The
the
light.
lighting.
Look, there's a LED strip right there. I mean, that was one of the coolest things. I know Paul would disagree with me if he were here. He'd be like, "That's so stupid." Uh,
Yeah. Wait, hang on.
but
Maybe something happened here. Is this it? No. Oh, yeah.
yeah, there it is. There it is. Yes, I believe this is where they lost a
Ooh.
valve. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Uh, next time I talk to Chris Jackson or anything, which as we've mentioned 100 times before, he's a crew chief to Jeff Jones. Yeah, they lost. I think it's an exhaust valve, and that's why you see all those flames coming through because there's no compression in that one cylinder, and it's just spitting fuel out and it's burning on the way out. So yeah, it was very unfortunate for Jeff Jones, but Jeff Jones and Chris Jackson and the rest of the team they got to work shortly after that. and they had the car ready for round 8. But I mean, it's unfortunate because Jeff Jones has been doing so well this year, and he had a chance to move on into the top 8 from this battle against a competitor in Kazuya Taguchi, which
Wait,
is
hang on.
he's
So
a
I don't mean to cut you off, but they faulted Jeff Jones for slowing down and causing Taguchi to spin.
well, I mean, he's not drifting the rest of the way, and his engines. It's obvious there was a power cutout
Yeah, I
there.
understand
So
that, but the thing is, he's okay. So if that run is a wash, and they go back to the first run, you could argue that Jeff Jones should have won that battle.
right, right, but Jeff didn't spin out or stop the car. He kept going, but the car couldn't drift anymore. So
You know,
obviously, I mean, and this is my opinion. This is the way I would see it. I would see it as like, hey, his car can't go anymore. It's not. It's broken. Something's wrong with it. Obviously, that transpired to what happened on the track with Kazuya running into him, spinning out because he's not moving anymore. So, so yeah, that I mean, that's what I see. I don't think it's a bad call.
actually, no.
I mean,
I apologize. I take it back because I was thinking about it differently. Where, yeah, even though, yes, I feel like the second run is a wash, but looking back at the first run, I do recall pointing out Jeff Jones having that issue on the bank into the first
oh, that's
turn,
right. He did straighten out.
and then that would give Kazuya the advantage. So I definitely see him. I could definitely see him winning that one, that battle.
Well, even if the second run is a wash, they still have to give fault for what happened, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So I mean, it's still the way I see it. It's still going to be Jeff Jones's fault because his car isn't running right or whatnot. So I mean, there's nothing as a driver that you can do at that point. Jeff Jones or Kazuya. I mean, Kazuya is locked in to stay on his door, and he just oops, this guy's not accelerating into the inner clip anymore. Like he stopped because at some point they got to start accelerating again, and it just wasn't happening. And if
Yeah.
you look at what happened, we would actually have to pull up the decel map on that. But I think the decel area is before it ends before you reach the inner clip, and where the incident happens right at the inner clip. So,
Oh.
but either way, I mean, there was nothing. What are they gonna do? Call one more time, and then Kazuya goes out for his Byron. You know,
Hey, I actually don't have a problem with it one more time if I'm able to see those flames popping and going. Yeah, hang on, let's see
yeah.
that. Right there, right there. Yeah, there we go. Oh yes, oh yes. Look at that.
He was giving out his own light show.
Ha! That's funny. In
He
any
doesn't need the
case,
LEDs.
so let's go over to another highlight, which actually had major implications in regards to the points race.
Yeah,
So we're gonna have this one here, Mr. Ryan Turk against Travis Reeder.
yeah. This I can't explain what happened here. This is an anomaly, in my opinion. Ryan Turk did admit that it was his fault that it happened. It was a driver error. So it's like Ryan's been driving this track for I don't know how many years. He's comfortable in the car. How did this happen? I'm not bashing Turk. I think he's a great driver. Seems like a real nice guy. I've never
Ah,
really met him.
sorry, I just noticed the thing that was on the roof just like fall off when they took off.
Oh yeah, the camera. That's what it was. The Yeah, the car was off balance.
Ah,
That's why yeah,
that
that's
explains things.
why
Okay.
what happens here. Right here, we can see he understeers and then
Boom.
boom, right into the wall. Yeah, so this really sucked for Turk. I mean, he's in the fight for the championship. The team worked really hard. to get the car back out, with a new engine, as stated before. It's, what do you like? How I would feel gutted if that would happen to me. I mean, I feel bad for him, the team, and everything because he really had a legitimate shot at the championship, and you could see it just kind of he lost a little bit of the grip. He fell off a little bit there. You know, uh, but I hope we'll see what happens in the rest of the events anyway.
But do
Before I
you
say the
think
next
it's
thing.
possible that because remember they ended up having to do an engine swap? So do you think it's possible that the engine was giving them problems and that may have caused them to go into the wall like that?
They would have found it. They would have found the problem afterwards, and they would have stated exactly what happened. But Turk said it was his own fault. It was his error.
Wow.
Yeah, he admitted to it. So yeah, I mean, usually when something like that happens, they'll go back, look at the car, like, hey, look, this thing was disconnected or whatever, and or this spark plug was fouling up really bad and lost power. They didn't have anything except
Hmm.
for, yeah, I messed up. you know, it
Yeah.
was my fault as a driver.
So not to be outdone, there was also another major competitor that decided to crash,
Oh
and
yeah,
this was for the final, correct?
no, this was not the final. This was top four.
Top four.
This
Okay.
was top four. Yeah, final four. Um, Not remembering the crash here.
I think it's this
Oh
section over
yes,
here.
yes, yes, yes,
Yeah, it went
yes,
in a
right
bit
here.
too hot.
Oh, what can you say about that? Oh,
It's like
uh,
it's another one. That's another one. It's like what happened?
yeah. I mean, when you look, when you look at look at the smoke going over his front windshield. I mean, what can you do there? I mean, it just you're in a cloud. Yeah, I understand. I understand. I understand. That. It's just you're so blinded, you just don't know where you're at anymore. And this does come up in round eight again to another driver, which we'll talk about it. Although I'm pretty sure our viewers have watched everything, so they know. But just in case you don't, but uh, yeah, I've seen in-car footage of when this happens, and they can't see anything. They can't see anything. Even that blue LED that's lining the wall, when there's that much smoke on you, you don't see it until the smoke really starts to thin out.
Maybe they
So,
should get brighter LEDs.
or somehow like have some X-ray LEDs that allows you to see through smoke.
Perhaps. Well,
Hey, I mean, somebody's got to get starting on inventing that. Somebody invent that before I start doing it.
yeah. Okay.
So yeah, that was unfortunate for Vaughn, but it did make the championship race a little more interesting because what happens here is now Osbo has a shot to to move up in the standings. Remember, he came into this event in fifth place, and this move here, and because Ryan Turk fell out in the top 16, Chris Forsberg fell out in the top 16. This move right here is allowing Osbo to capitalize on those on their parity. So he's just gonna move up now, and it's gonna make the championship race a little more interesting.
Indeed. So going back to Noel's notes, uh, he did point out that. Hang on. Let's see. Oswald defeats Ginn in the final four after one more time. Ginn's got. We just spoke about that. Michael Essa defeated Chelsea Denofa in the final four, which
Yeah,
then caused Denofa to go up against Von Ginn for third place. And again, Ginn goes into the wall in outer zone one during his chase run, which you
yeah,
brought up that they have a hard time finishing a battle together.
yeah.
Eh,
Anytime they get matched up. Chelsea, I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
no, no, you go. Go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, Chelsea. versus Vaughn, it's gonna be mind blowing in some way or another. It might, something always happens between them where they can't finish a battle, and if they do finish a battle, it's incredible to watch. Uh, and this year Vaughn is actually bitten back because most of the time I've seen Chelsea beat Vaughn in other years, but this year we've seen Vaughn come back and just be the one that doesn't make the mistake or the one that doesn't cause the crazy commotion in their battle. Uh, Granted, in this event, Chelsea did finally beat Vaughn this year, so I'm pretty sure Chelsea felt good about it, and it just goes to show that even though there is a championship race on the line, when those two get together, there's no team orders. They go for it. They don't care. They want to put on a good show for the fans, and they just want to. They really want to earn it. So I think that was awesome to watch. Even though it sucks for Vaughn because that was a pretty big wreck. You if we had video, we would show
Yeah,
that
sorry
his.
guys.
No, it's fine. We didn't have a lot of time to prepare for this. This came up on us pretty quick, actually. We just decided to wing it almost. So when you look, if you were to go back to that battle and after the crash, you would see Vaughn's wheel is practically like almost in his door. So there was extensive damage. There is a video that Vaughn posted on Instagram showing the damage of everything that broke. I mean, it was bad. But he has one of the best teams in the paddock, alongside along with Papadakis. They're up there as well. I mean, they got the car ready for round 8. It was good to go. And
Which car?
but yeah, Vaughn's car.
No. Oh, I thought you meant like that Papadakis got the car ready for round 8.
No, I'm just saying that. No, I meant that the RTR camp is as good as the Papadakis camp. That's why I mentioned Papadakis in there as one of the best teams in the
Gotcha.
paddock.
And I bring it up
Yeah,
because as Osbo was celebrating with donuts, he ends up blowing the engine. So
yeah.
congrats.
So that's an interesting one. So the final was Michael Essa versus Frederick Osbo. Michael Essa cannot keep up with Osbo throughout the run. Osbo knows that he has it in the bag. So as they're moving towards the grandstands where they announce the winner of the event, they start doing donuts and burnouts. You know how it is after an FD event. They're all celebrating. It's at the end of the day, it's all a good time. And wouldn't you know it, Osmo blows the motor doing a burnout. So as he pulls up, you hear him like going over to Michael S and be like, "I think I blew the motor." And it's but what a perfect time to blow the motor, right? Like just after you won the event. Oh man, if it would have happened, you know, uh, any sooner, it would have been disaster for Osbo. But um, yeah, I mean that's what happened. So
But
Osbo
hang
first.
on. Hey, sorry to cut you off, but then my my question to that is does it call into question the build quality of the engine itself, or the fact that it's the first year with a new engine, new setup, and the fact that there's not a lot of R&D development onto it, and these are just part of the growing pains in regards to the development of the vehicle.
I would almost absolutely go with the latter. It's a new engine that most of these guys don't have a lot of experience with, especially at those power levels. You know, you're banging it off the rev limiter, putting huge amounts of load, at high RPM with the amount of grip that these cars are producing. Uh, you're asking it to do something that nobody has ever done with that engine before. So, and hey, I mean, it survived the season before going out, if I can remember it correctly, because what I remember it doing before was They blew the intake manifold in Seattle, I believe. And that, yeah, that's one thing, but that was just one part. The whole engine still stayed together. And from what I know, that engine stayed together throughout the year. From what I know, maybe they had spare engines and whatnot that they swapped, and I'm pretty sure they did. But still, towards the end of the year, you don't have a lot of spare parts left over. You go through them pretty quick. So, with that said, I still congratulate Papadakis for doing what they did. It was an achievement.
Definitely. So, as you were pointing out before, with Osbo taking the win, that actually brought him up in the point standings pretty significantly. So, going into
Yeah,
round number 8, you had Vongen with 492 points, Ryan Turk with 452, Frederick Osbo with 432, Chelsea Nova 412, and Chris Forsberg with 396.
right. So yeah, mathematically, Forsberg still had a shot, but no, no, he's out really. Um, and within first to third, you have a 60-point spread. That's still close enough for anything to happen. Um, Osbo was in third, and Turk was still hanging on to second somehow, even though he had a pretty rough finish there in round 7. So, I mean, the race is wide open. Anybody could take it. Anybody can take it, but we'll find out what happens now. So,
Yeah.
let's also talk about some of the things going into this round. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to point out, or some of the things I wanted to point out, was that who was it? Adam LZ came back to his S15. They got the 2J repaired. Chris Forsberg went sent his team out to somewhere near San Francisco, I believe, somewhere in the north part, and they retrieved Matt Field's old competition car, the S14.5. Which it's funny how people are borrowing S14.5s with V8s that are supercharged. But
Whatever works, right?
besides the, yeah, hey, I mean that car works. That car definitely works. That setup has proven very competitive. I mean, it's won many times before, not just Matt Fields, but Odie's. But yeah, they brought the car over. Still had the livery from last year from when Pat Gooden was driving it. So that was interesting to see again. And
Passionate Pat
yeah,
Gooden. Passionate Pat.
passionate Pat Gooden. And of course, Frederick Osbo. Uh, Very interesting what happened. So as we know, in round 7, Osbo blew the engine doing the celebratory burnouts before being named the winner. They got the engine, a new engine in there, and as he's going to go out for his first practice run, he does a burnout to warm up the tires. Rod knock. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. That's
Oof.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. That's pretty rough. So they had to swap the engine out before his top 32 battle. So there goes Papadakis again, swapping engines and somehow making it on time. But we'll see pretty soon what happens about all that.
Yeah, so let's get started with some of the highlights from round number 8. To begin with, we have this battle between Dan Burkett against Jonathan Aaron.
Oh, yeah. Watch right here.
Oof.
Oh, wait. Something flew off. Something flew off. And that was his hood. I mean, how unfortunate for Dan Burkett. Dan Burkett
I'm
he
sorry,
was
but
on a run, man.
that's a bit amusing.
It is. It is. I can't wait for the replay because that is fun.
I
I
mean,
mean, Dan Burkett,
and the windshield didn't crack or anything like that, so you have that at
yeah.
least.
Well, thank God, because if it would have flown open and hung onto the car, then that would have been a problem for Dan. But it it sucks because what happens is,
Boom.
is that oh man, it sucks. But I mean, he was on a run, man. It was a good run. It's just what a unfortunate thing to happen that he did bobble right there a little bit, but other than that, he was all over the wall. But to lose the hood and be deemed incomplete because you lose a hood, I'm not going to say it's unfair. They have that rule in there in place for a reason, because there was issues before where hatches would open, and in a close tandem battle, believe it or not, that can actually throw the chase driver way off, because they're like, hey, something's happening that could hit my car, or whatever.
Yeah, and
But
like in this case, a hood could have easily just landed and hit the driver, the chase car,
yeah,
and you know,
yeah, Naren got lucky too. Yeah, Naren got lucky. I mean,
pink.
that could have been pretty significant damage to his car.
This is the best view
You
here.
know? Yeah, that's so great. I mean, it sucks, but it's so great. You know. But yeah,
But it also displays how light the hood is, because this thing was just like flowing so freely with it, like very little friction. Look at that, pink,
yeah. I
almost
mean,
like a
it's a.
paper.
I think his hood is carbon fiber, and then on top of that, you're going 85, 90 miles an hour into that entry. When air gets under it, it's gonna fly. It's gonna fly. So
Luckily, it just went down and stayed in the track, and it didn't
yeah,
hit Naren. And I mentioned that too because that thing could have easily been a projectile, and who knows if it would have probably like flown up into the sky and hit
yeah,
a
and
spectator or something like that if they were to have
well,
spectators.
yeah. Well, luckily it was on the side that there would be no spectators if they were to have them.
Yeah.
But also pay attention to Naren's line on the entry. Do you think the hood threw him off? Because
Let's rewind.
he went. Look how far down he goes. You see the hood comes off,
Oop.
but then look at Naren.
Yeah, he does
Naren
make a
goes
correction there. Yeah.
way down. It's like he had to, yeah, something, yeah. As Odie would say, he got spooked. So,
Well, I don't
uh,
blame him. You can't really blame
yeah,
him at all. You see something that's out of the norm, you gotta react, you gotta freak out, and you gotta obviously react
yeah,
to whatever way possible to avoid it. You see a
yeah.
projectile, an obstacle, and you're like, your natural instincts tell you like, alert, alert.
And I'm totally with you on that. I mean, what else are you going to do as a driver when you see something like that happen? So, I mean, yeah, it was actually good driving from Naren to avoid that. And but man, really seriously, Burkett was on a run. Man, he could have had that if the hood wouldn't have popped open like that. But these things happen. It's part of any motorsport, even drifting. We just saw it. So yeah, unfortunate for Burkett, but Naren moves on to the top 16. So
That was that. So let's go and talk about this battle with Mr. Frederick.
all right, so Freddie has a new engine, but has not driven since Friday night. So he didn't have practice earlier that morning, and you can see he was dragging the wall all over the place. But in doing so, what happens is the car starts to straighten out a little bit, and he starts to turn his wheels straight to the point where he's actually understeering, and the judges just called it like it was a loss of drift for a significant amount of time. He was understeering, so they called that an incomplete run. Uh,
Ah, yeah, I can see
yeah,
that.
yeah, it was unfortunate. Now to lessen the pain for Odie, or no, Odie, excuse me, for for Osbo, excuse me.
Oof.
He hadn't driven since Friday night. Friday night, the track is totally different. It's cooler. There's more grip. The cars are making more power. And also, since he had just swapped an engine, he also mentioned that they weren't throwing all the power at this one because they wanted to kind of preserve it. So a lot of these variables come into something that you're just not expecting the car to react a certain. You're expecting it to react a certain way, but it doesn't react that way. And well, I mean, it's not a knock on Freddie. We all know he's a world class driver. He's incredible, and honestly, if that wouldn't have happened, if all these other unfortunate circumstances didn't happen, I think he would have held on a little bit longer. Actually, he would have met Vaughn in the top 16, and that could have been a problem. But we're here now. We're here now. So yeah,
Definitely.
this knocks Osbo out of the championship, unfortunately. But Turk is still in there. So
Yeah. So
and
let's
so is
go ahead. Sorry.
and I was gonna say and so is Forsberg as well.
Correct. Uh, so let's switch over to somebody that had well, looks like he was having a great run. And here we go.
Yeah,
We have
this
JTP up against Matt Field. JTP taking the lead. Now, you wanted to highlight this because you feel that this is as close of a perfect run as you've witnessed in this event.
I mean,
Correct?
look at the proximity to the wall, to that outer zone that he had. Then he does this transition right here and gets perfectly on the second outer zone wall. And all while, on throttle, full lock, and watch this transition here. I mean, look at the angle he's coming through that final corner. I mean, I just wanted to highlight this because that was the best run I had seen all weekend from any driver. I mean, honestly, it just goes to show that there are moments where JTP is he can just pull something out that we didn't expect, but he's that kind of driver,
Well,
and I hope to see him.
at this point, it shouldn't come to no surprise because this was one of the first individuals to score a 100 on one of his qualifying runs.
Yeah, well, the second one after Tanner Faust back in 2008
Oh,
or nine or something like
my
that.
apologies. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. But anyway, either way, he's still scoring a 100 in qualifying is an achievement. I mean, he's the second one to do it. Then James Dean did it later that year in Texas, which I thought that was a 100-point run. The run that JTP did in Jersey, I don't see a 100, but I see that it had so much style and so much like aggression in his driving that the judges just had to go with the 100. I get that. But this run here at Irwindale, at the speeds that they achieve at this track, and then going into that inner bank the way he did with that commitment and just staying in it. I mean, I was blown away when I saw it live. I thought that was, man, I mean, that's one of the best runs I've seen ever in
Oh,
any
I
competition. I
want to
mean,
see
it
that
was
overhead
crazy.
view. Oh, darn it. I lost it again. Shoot. Hang on.
It's
I
okay.
got it. I got it. Here we go. Boom, 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 boom. Right there. Yeah. Yeah,
Look at the proximity to the
this
wall.
does a much better job of illustrating what you were talking about. The fact that he was riding high on the first section on the bank, does a great transition, goes back to riding the bank.
The
See,
angle.
yeah.
Whew.
I
Yeah.
mean, you could
Uh,
argue on the final section he could have been a little deeper into it, but considering everything that he did so far, I mean that it's a good run.
if that was qualifying, that I think that would have been like a 98, 99. Honestly, that it was that good.
Hmm. All right. So going over to the opposite end of the spectrum, while that was a high, this is another low for one of the other competitors in the series. Now, actually, now that I'm seeing this, it's quite interesting
Real
that
quick, real quick,
Mister.
before
Go ahead.
before we get into this, you don't have the Alec Robbins versus Adam LZ
No, I don't.
battle.
No.
Okay, all right, okay. I wanted to touch on that, but that's fine.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. My
It's
apologies.
okay.
I know what you wanted it, but yeah.
Yeah,
But let's go back to this and. But
yes,
refresh my memory. Didn't Oswald go up against? No, it was Travis Reeder. I got him confused. Sorry.
yeah. Anyway, let's focus on this. So something really interesting happens here. If you look right here,
Oh,
boom, there's contact between Turk and Naren. Now, here's the thing about this run. Yeah, you could tell that the contact did affect Naren's car, but man, for a split second, I thought Naren was going to spin out. I don't know what to say about that. It was
another
kind of
example. Okay, I see what you're going with.
yeah. Well, I'm not saying okay. I'm not saying that Naren was trying to pull this on Turk. I think Naren's line, he was still up a little too high before coming into the inner clip, so he had to throw more angle at it to be able to hit the inner clip. So yes, I mean at first pass, it looks like he was about to spin out. If oh man, they keep changing the replay on this.
No worries. Keep
So
going.
yeah, so at first pass it looks like he's about to spin out, but when you look real carefully, he does throw a lot of angle, but the car stops rotating. Right here, it's just man. But Turk should also know that that is a decel zone, and he came up to him very quickly, very very quickly. But man, it's just kind of look. You saw the angle right there that Naren pulled
Yeah.
out of nowhere. It just kind of like he put more angle to it, but then at the same time, the car just stopped rotating right before he got hit. So it's like, was he going to spin out or was he about to hold it? I think he was about to hold it, but why didn't Turk realize that that was a decel zone? That's what kind of baffles me about this battle, and knowing what this can mean for the championship. Like, man, like no knocks against Naren. Naren's a phenomenal driver. We've seen him in clutch kickers. The guy can rip. But Turk, come on, man, you're gonna lose to a rookie like this when you're battling for a championship. like uh, that was definitely another anomaly from Turk, and it happened 2 times this week. I mean, it's just crazy, crazy. I don't know what else to say about it.
It, for all we know, could have been the nerves. I like take for instance last year. Last year, Turk wasn't a competitor for the championship, correct? Like when you got to the point where Irwindale came around, I don't think he was anywhere near the points, right?
Well, he was in the top five, but he ended up in the top five. I don't remember exactly how he came into it,
Mm-hmm.
but he had two podiums earlier. He got second in Atlanta and he got first in Jersey. I was there for the Atlanta one, so he and consider that he got into the top five in points, missing a round. He missed Long Beach due to a crash that his car was
That's
completely
right.
out of commission. And the guy still made it to the top five. So it just goes to show how much of a competitor he is. So when I see things like what happened with him with him and Naren, it kind of makes me look at Turk and be like, you should know better than that. You should know, like, you don't have to zero in on a driver like that because you can make it through. You know, uh,
I lost you, pal.
yeah. Okay, sorry about that.
There you go.
My phone was going into low power mode. So
You don't have a
but
charger?
anyway, it's in my room. I'm not gonna go get it.
Oh boy. I guess we gotta speed it up a little bit.
We'll be okay. We'll be okay. Don't worry about it. So anyway, yeah, I mean, I've never been in that situation. I'm not that kind of driver. I'm never. I don't want to say never, but I don't think I'll ever be at that level. But I mean, I would think that when you're at that level, you would know better than to make a mistake like that. Granted, Naren did throw angle out of nowhere, but it is a decel zone. So anyway, uh, I don't know. Any thoughts on that?
Well,
From you?
just that I don't necessarily agree with your statement on Naren potentially or working his way to overturn that section where the content was made. I definitely don't feel I don't that he was going to over rotate. I think that he was just setting himself up
Right.
properly for
Well,
it. And
and
again,
that's what I was saying
you could
actually.
argue because there was sort of like this a discussion about it because it did seem that way based on perhaps the trajectory that he was going. But I don't necessarily agree with that. I really don't. I think that he was just with the way how he was driving, he was setting himself up properly, and the issue that with the issue at hand really it was just the fact that Turk just didn't really anticipate that, or he just forgot, and next thing you know, as you saw, he made the contact and he basically eliminated himself from the race.
Right, and no, and that's what I said actually. What I said was that at first pass, it looks like he's going to spin out. When you
Oh,
really
okay.
look at
Sorry
it,
about that.
when you really look at it, he does throw more angle at the car, but the car stops rotating. Like it just stops. It looks like it's going to spin out, but it just stops right there from rotating. And he was going to drive through the inner clip, but at the same time, man, Turk, you gotta. I don't know. That was just kind of it's tough. It's tough because especially with a driver that could be a little inconsistent on a track that he's never driven on before, like Naren was. You never know. Maybe driving so close isn't the best idea, but I also think the way Turk went into him was pretty fast. I don't know. It just looked kind of weird in my opinion.
Yeah.
But anyway,
So moving on, and I believe the what was perhaps arguably the most controversial battle or incident that occurred in this event was the following that
oh,
involved Mr. Taylor Hall going up against Dylan Hughes.
the
And
creme de la creme of controversial battles.
yeah, so this was already a little bit sort of out of the ordinary. Not so much, but again, you kind of expect it, and all of a sudden you're starting to see this unfold. Great. Okay. Obviously, there's a distance going into the first turn. Dylan is working his way to close that gap as much as possible. And now we see this area where there's a bit of a contact, and what just happened?
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. This is going to go back. Well, all right. Let's start off with the starting line. Okay. The lights go out, but before the lights go out, Dylan knows Taylor's car is fast. We've seen that car at Clutch Kickers. That thing's a rocket. So he knows this. All right, cool. So I'm going to take off a little before the light so that way we can match up when he gets on it. So Taylor just doesn't go for a little bit. He just kind of sits at the line, just waiting a little longer. And that causes a problem for Dylan because Dylan is in a turbo car. Turbo cars, if you have to let off and you're out of the power band, when you step on it, nobody's home. The car doesn't go. So it's kind of I don't know if that was a tactic by Taylor, but that was kind of fishy in my opinion. Now, before we get into what happened here, approaching inner clip two, I want to reiterate that Taylor Hall is a very nice guy. He's at
Okay.
least the times that I've talked to him, and at Clutch Kickers and everything, he seems like the nicest guy. Everybody that knows him, he's really nice, straight up dude. Like I congratulated him on the top 8 finishes at in Seattle, and he was like all talking, yeah, man, thanks. Uh, we feel blessed, and like he was so nice and like humble about it. So when we come down to seeing what happens here, right? Okay, this also includes the battle from with Dean, Carney, and Osbo, where Dean gets hit or Dean hits Osbo, and Osbo goes a little offline, but he stays in it. This is the difference. Why did Taylor Hall, after getting hit, yes, he gets hit twice. I get it. And one of them was on the wheel. But you could see a delay between getting hit on the wheel and him turning out and forfeiting the run. You can see it right here. Here's a bump, and then the delay, and then you see the car. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't want to call it as
Hang on. And this is going back to what you were saying, how there was a bit of a delay in the jump. You see Dylan Hughes, he takes off, but
yeah. And in
and
a turbo car, you're just like, oh no, I'm out of it. You know?
yeah, and that gives Taylor Hall the advantage to the opportunity to just take off the way that he did.
Yeah.
So Dylan Hughes is evidently just gotta like freak out and do what he can to close that gap, and he saw that.
Right. Yeah. Now, granted, yes, technically it is Dylan Hughes' fault for the contact because it is in a decel zone. I get that, but what what caused Taylor Hall's car to go off to the right? What caused it? It just doesn't make sense to me. It's really, and let me tell you, I'm not I'm not saying, you know uh it's right or anything, but there's so many memes that have come out of this. There's a whole lot of drama that's come out of this, and when you're on a spotlight like FD, I mean, you have to cover your butt. This is kind of a fishy move. you know I mean, yes, it does hit his wheel, and that could rip the wheel out of, Dylan does hit Taylor's front wheel. That could rip the steering wheel out of your hands. But the delay between getting hit and the car snapping off to the right is where I think it's fishy.
I mean, he could have just gotten on the draw. I mean, it even seems to me that looking at it now that when he first got hit, he just kept slowing down
Yeah,
instead
yeah,
of
and that's
powering through or staying on the or staying on the throttle. He just decided to just slow it,
yeah,
let off the
and
throttle, slow down, and then made the situation that much worse.
right, and that's the other thing. It's like, okay, if he would have stayed on the throttle, that car would have kept sliding, maybe offline or whatever, but it would have kept sliding. The thing is also, I hate to bring this up from outside sources or anything, but there is video of when he does get hit. You can see Taylor's hands start steering to the right, and he's off throttle. What's that going to do to the car? Well, that means the car's going to now just jump over to the right. It's just going to snap that way. And I'm just like, I'm here like, did Taylor just misreact to it? Did he, did something happen to the car where just the suspension went out of whack? What happened? I hate to accuse anybody of driving mischievously or using any tactics like this, but the truth is that we've seen things like this before with him. Taylor Ray, Mike Pollard, clutch kickers. We've seen this. And I don't, and when you're on the biggest stage in drifting, with all eyes looking at you, I don't think it's a good look to do something like that. Honestly, you know, Taylor, if you ever watch this, you're a good dude, man, but I know you're better than that. I know you're better than that, man.
Oh boy. Yeah, that is just. I don't know. I don't. I don't want to sort of make any sort of allegations. Obviously, we're not there behind the
Understand?
driver's seat. We don't know what exactly transpired, what actually happened. But to the naked eye and trying to put some logic into it, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. And there's really
Yeah,
not much you could do to sort of argue against that. But I'm not in the position, so
yeah.
I would just let it be and just move on. But at least we get some funny memes out of it.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I've been enjoying myself all week. Uh,
Wait,
but
phrasing.
no, yeah, phrasing. Now I've been enjoying myself with the memes all week.
Thank
That's
you.
Yeah, that could still actually be wrong. I don't know. Anyway, but anyway, but let me also say Taylor Taylor has been driving phenomenally. I mean, the jump from last year to this year is 100% different. It's a total turnaround. His lead lines this week rivaled some of the better ones that I've seen all weekend. So I mean, that goes to show that he is that caliber of driver. He can, he can go up there. Getting to the top eight in Formula D is a big deal. This they consistently they say consistently making it to the top eight or better is what gets you a championship. And he's been getting better and better. He made it to the top 10 in the championship points. That's a pretty, in my eyes, that's a pretty big deal. So, I mean, uh, yeah, I mean, Taylor has the potential to do some damage in a good way. Let's not continue doing damage this way, though.
Ah,
Let's, I, I'm just saying, from what I'm seeing, from what my two peepers are showing me, yeah, dude, that was fishy. That was fishy.
all right. So let's switch over to something not so fishy, and let's highlight a moment that really stood out from the event. Now, something they introduced for this event was the AM fan zone, which allowed people to tune in and express their, I guess, opinions towards some of the battles in a Zoom meeting, in a large Zoom meeting, if you want to call it that. And I think it went well. Uh, it definitely allowed
Yeah,
people to kind of be a part of the event, even though they couldn't. And with all of the restrictions that are in place, a lot of venues not allowing any fans, and so this is a way for FD to connect with fans and for the fans to connect back with FD. And I think it was really good. But I think one of the best parts that is it allowed one of our own local favorites, Mister. I'm sorry, not Mister. World famous Chris Jackson, who happened to make an appearance. I don't know how, but he was. That was definitely a big surprise just to see this man there, front and center, part of the
I
crowd,
can't.
part
I
of the
can't.
fans, and it's just now how he managed to take the time to join the virtual fan zone and work as a crew chief for Mr. Jeff Jones. I don't know. I don't know how he
You're
did it,
absolutely right.
but this man worked wonders. We all know him to really go above and beyond, go the distance to make things that were once thought to be impossible possible. And it was just great to not only see him there, but also take part in his opinion. See, look, we have another footage of him when Jerry Diendo was asking for people's opinions of what they thought was the battle. You saw world famous Chris Jackson there giving his opinion. He said JTP, and there he was. So
Okay.
it was
Hey, it
great.
is incredible that he did that because Jeff Jones was still in the fight. He was still there. He made it all the way to the top four. So I don't know how Jackson came up with the time to do this, but Jackson, you're a miracle worker. It's amazing. Yeah, you must have healing powers. I don't know, man. You're amazing. So yeah, shout out to Jackson.
Yeah, so talking about JTP, I think it was quite interesting what happened with him because let's gotta switch over there. So he had a battle with Odie.
Yeah,
So this is in the final four battle.
yeah. Final four battle.
JTP, as you can see, he goes up to the wall all on his own, obviously.
Now,
So
what a difference between what he did on that lead run against Matt Field to that. I mean, like,
exactly,
what happened? You know, it's crazy. I mean, we know he has the potential to take names. I mean, the guy's a great driver. But that was really weird how he came up on that weird line starting low, and then he kind of pointed the car outwards on the initiation or something to where it just started climbing up after he started initiating, and there was nowhere to go. It was just weird, weird, weird. Then again, going up against Odie, you got to bring out everything. You got to bring out your A game because Odie, although this year has been a little, he was a little bit in a funk. You still got to bring it because you never know. That guy can rip. So
Definitely.
yeah,
So JTP was in a bit of a predicament where he could either choose to continue to battle Odie, but he was already at a disadvantage. So he could either choose to continue to battle Odie or forfeit, concede defeat against Odie, and then utilize that time from the remainder of this battle and the following battle, which would have been against Jeff Jones, to actually take the time to fix the car.
yeah. So just to clarify exactly what happened there, you do have a competition timeout that you can use, but instead of using that competition timeout for this battle, he said, "Okay, obviously I'm not going to get the car finished in 5 minutes. There's a lot of a lot of suspension bits that have broken, and there's a lot to change. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to forfeit this run, and throughout his buy run and the battle between Chelsea and Jeff Jones, and then when my third place battle comes up, I call my competition timeout. The car will be ready to go." So also, although we don't have audio for this, he did go up to Odie, said, "Hey, since I couldn't beat you, you got to win this for me." So that was cool. That was a cool little exchange there between Odie and JTP. Now, so if he were to use his competition timeout now and not make it to battle Odie, he couldn't even run for the third place battle. It would disqualify him from the event. So he would just have made it to fourth place, and that was it. But he was pretty smart about it. He was like, "No, I'm not gonna make the final, so might as well think about third place, and we'll go from there." So that was awesome. That was a smart strategy. It worked out for him, because we'll see later exactly what that turns into.
I don't have that clip.
Yeah.
It basically ended up being where he battles Jeff Jones and actually takes the victory.
Yeah. Yeah, incredibly enough, with a car that just went into the wall pretty hard. As you can see, the body isn't exactly in the best shape, and the suspension has been tweaked. But yeah, I mean, and some people might argue, "Oh, Jeff Jones, yeah, he's good, but look, man, in the top four, everybody's good. Okay, everybody is at that level. You have to bring it. Okay, and JTP in a car that was broken comes out and wins that battle for third place. That was awesome. That was awesome to watch. So before we move on to the next few things, let's just state that Odie Bakchis won the battle against Chelsea Denofa for first place. So that would mean that Odie was first, Chelsea was second, and JTP came third. And our boy Jeff Jones made it to fourth place. I mean, hey, for the second time this year. That's awesome. That's a lot of progress. Got to give kudos to him and the team, which includes our homie, Chris Jackson, world famous Chris Jackson, might I add. And that was awesome to see them do well. As far as the championship goes, Von Gittin obviously got first. Chelsea went from starting fifth in the weekend. Was it fifth or fourth? Maybe fourth. All the way there to second in the championship. So Team RTR 1 and 2, Ryan Turk came in third, and actually the first four positions in the championship were all Niddle Tire. So congratulations to Niddle Tire. Congratulations to Ford and RTR. That was you guys had an awesome year. You know, can't wait for 2021 to see what that brings. Hopefully, we get all our rounds back. We can go to Florida, Road Atlanta. I want to see the New Jersey track. I want to see the Sonoma track. I'm ready for it.
You're ready to see everything.
Yeah, show it all to me. Bear it all.
All right. So something that we are ready and looking forward to see is the upcoming Clutch Kickers 2021 season. And they went ahead and what's it's going on over here? How come I don't see it? Ah, there it is. Well, that was weird. How come it didn't pop up?
Oh, I see it. So
Yeah, I don't know why it just wasn't appearing, but in any case, so in case you didn't know, the Clutch Kickers, the now actually last year it was known as the $100,000 Drift Series. I don't know what they're gonna call it this year. It's gonna be different because they're doing top 16 payouts. A bit
yep,
unheard of in the whole drift industry, but they're doing it, and as you can see, they have the dates published as round one, March 12th to the 14th, round two, April 23rd to the 25th, round three, June 11th to the 13th, round four, August 20th to the 22nd, and round five, October 8th to the 10th. Definitely, if you want to be updated with anything that involving this series, which if you're a driver, highly recommend you check it out. Highly recommend you, if you have any doubts, really I mean, you could miss the first or two events, and if you still have any doubts, but definitely worth checking out for sure. Um,
absolutely.
and
Uh,
what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so make sure to follow their social media channels. They're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all of that at Clutch
yeah,
Kickers, and of course, also clutchkickers.com, where any sort of information will be posted there. Also, if if you're interested, get some clothing apparel. It's not bad.
yeah,
No, you have
it's
one of their
awesome.
shirts,
Yeah,
right?
I have two of their shirts. I have a red and a black clutch kicker shirt. It has
Lucky
the
you.
180th has a 180SX sliding through. It looks real cool. Um, now, yeah, as far as the drift series goes, or anything that involves clutch kickers, those are really good guys up there. They're awesome. They are for the community. They are for the drivers. They want to, they want to give us the best possible drifting competitions, drifting fun days. They cater to the drivers very well. Also, the competition itself is phenomenal. I love it out there. I mean, because while you know, granted, FD is the biggest series in the world. It's great, but this is awesome in the sense that anybody can come in and drive with anybody. You can drive with pro drivers from FD in their FD cars. That is so cool to me because I mean, like where else do you get that? Are you at a disadvantage? Sure, but it doesn't mean you can't beat them. It is possible. We've seen giants being slayed at this track. It's awesome. This track is an equalizer. I mean, if you're a driver, go drive it. If you're in Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, that area, whatever, even if you want to come from wherever, doesn't matter. Come drive this track. These events are awesome. And yeah, I mean, you got the schedule right there. There's no excuses. Come out.
Definitely. And in local news, for a time, for a while, PBIR was not hosting events, but uh, that can no longer be said as world famous Chris Jackson let us know that the next upcoming drift event at PBIR, Palm Beach International Raceway, will be held on December 19th. Now, all of the information is not up yet. They're still trying to work out some of the details, but at least we have a date. But if you are interested, go to the usdriftcircuit.com website or follow their social media channels, US Drift Circuit at Facebook and Instagram. And once they put up the information, it will be up there. So stay tuned for that. Um,
Yeah. Oh, and I want to also let everybody know that we are going to be out there and we are going to be streaming from there. Am I right?
hopefully, I mean, if the infrastructure is
We're going to
there
try.
that allows us to be able to make that possible, then yeah, for sure. I don't want to. I wouldn't want to make any sort of promises because where they are thinking of hosting one of the drift areas, I guess you can say. I'm not familiar with it, so maybe we can work something out. Who knows? But I don't see any sort of major obstacles being in the way for us to be able to make that a reality.
Well, listen to me because what I'm going to say is
Oh God.
we're going to do we're going to do whatever we can. We've used a cell phone before, okay, to live stream an event. We're ready to do it. I mean, it might not be the prettiest thing, but we're going to be out there trying to bring out the action to you. Of course, we're going to have our usual topics that we talk about all the time, and just having fun watching drifting and talking crap. So yeah, just tune into that if you can't make it to the event. If you can make it to the event, I'm not sure what it is with spectators yet with PBIR. That will be disclosed in the next few days. But if you can make it, awesome. If you're a driver, come out. It's an awesome track. They where we might possibly have a skid pad is huge, so we can have
Huge.
a lot. Yeah, that's a possibility. I'm not confirming it yet, but if we can have that skid pad, you're gonna have a ball out there because it is big. It is really big, and you can go real fast. But it's a skid pad, so you don't have much to hit. The road course, of course, is it's a world class road course. It's fast. If you're ready to tackle on third, fourth gear, uh, throughout a track, come on, bring it on. Let's get out there. It's awesome. So yeah, come on.
It's just funny. It's like, come on, bro, let's go.
Come on, bro.
Let's do
Let's
it.
go. Get your car ready.
All right. So one final topic that we wanted to bring up, and I wanted to give our viewers a bit of a warning. If you are in any way not interested in Toyotas, and you can feel free to tune away. But if you are by some chance, then you are in luck because we are now going to discuss the upcoming Subaru BR-Z or Z.
Also, if you vape, you want to stay tuned. It is a Subaru. So yeah, there's that.
What? What are you talking about?
You don't know that Subaru owners love to vape.
I don't care right now. The only thing I care about is talking about this vehicle right here.
But you only called out the Toyota guys.
Fine. The Toyota and Subaru guys. Is that better?
Yeah, it's better. I guess.
Okay. So we get the updated version of the 86 Twins, and the first one to get the update, actually the first one to be announced, is the Subaru version. And I'm sure the looks of it's gonna cause some discussion because I don't know what to make of it. I mean, I don't know. I don't hate it, but I'm not necessarily in love with it.
Well, okay. Here I go. That first picture all the way to the top.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they made it look better than what it really is, because it looks a little lower there for some reason.
Okay.
But when you look at the actual car, I don't know what they were trying to like. It's like they were trying to grab from here and there, and just Frankenstein something together. Look, the rear lights. That looks like an Accord in the back. You know, the front looks like some Porsche, maybe a Panamera or Cayenne or something with like a, with like an M4 bumper. Uh, I don't know, man. I don't know. And then like the fenders, the vents look cool and all that, but it's like they pulled it out of a Lexus. It's just kind of weird. It's like a hodgepodge of different cars, different styles. You know, what's funny though is that from the quarter panel, it still looks like it's the old car. It's got that bulging quarter panel look that the old car has, and I think the window, like the side windows and everything, they look the same. I would have to compare them, but it's like they kind of like, all right, it's a new car, but it's not a new car, kind of thing. But honestly, styling wise, not a fan. Maybe after a while, it might grow onto me, and then we see them lowered with some cool wheels or a wide body kit or whatever, and that might start interesting me a little bit more at that point. But from what I'm seeing here, that doesn't look good.
Yeah, I don't. I feel like, and I think I mentioned to you this to you before. They just made it basic so that way then it gives them room to really amp it up, if you want to call it that.
Hmm.
If they decide to come out with an STI version.
Hmm. Right,
Uh,
and that is a possibility. But here's the thing: we've been hearing about an STI version since the first gen. Since yeah, and that hasn't come to fruition, and I'm starting to lose a little faith, honestly, in the fact that we might ever get an STI version of this car. It would be pretty cool. Look, the first gen already had the engine in there. It had the FA20, throw a turbo on it. Use the FA20 from the WRX. It makes 265 horsepower from the factory. That's
Look,
plenty of power for that car.
it still drifts.
Yeah, luckily it does do that, and that's what we're looking forward to.
Why are they showing us rally? That's just
Yeah, and a
that is
WRX and a
completely
Legacy.
irrelevant. What is going on? It's not like it even has
Well,
all-wheel drive.
that's Colin. Hang on, that's Colin McRae. All right, let's pay our respects to that.
Okay, all right. What do you do? I get it. I'm sorry, but what does this have to do? The only
But
thing.
it's a boxer engine.
Okay,
This is what and I don't know. I don't know if I honestly don't know. Now they're showing the old BR-Z.
I guess they're going through the development of it. They're like, okay, well, we we enjoyed the first car and we're looking to find ways to improve it. Obviously, it was difficult because the first car was just so great out of the box. So now, the question was, okay, how do we improve it? Well, they did improve it. They had that limited edition model, which, okay, I guess. Look, it drifts easily when
Yeah.
you have rain and dirt.
uh, Rain is highly recommended with that car.
Yeah. Oh, see,
Uh,
there we go. So now they're going through the progression. They're like, okay,
was that
well,
like a carbon fiber roller? That was crazy.
probably no. Well, I don't know.
Giacomo made the roller.
Oh yeah,
Our our friend Giacomo,
fifty
he
percent
likes
more
to
torque.
he likes to make carbon fiber parts. He does have a business with that, so shout out
Okay,
to that.
so we spoke about the looks of it. Now, how do you feel about the powertrain? Because okay, they went from 2.0, 200 horsepower, up to a 2.4, and as you saw, 228 horsepower. Do you think that's
Yeah,
enough to really make a difference? And it looks like it has because now it seems that the car is sliding on its own without any sort of assistance from the dirt or the wet.
yeah. Well, um, honestly, that difference in horsepower in this day and age might not sound very impressive. I mean, the class that this car competes in, what else do you have in there? The MX-5 from Mazda, Honda Civic Si, things like that, where like those are comparable cars maybe, and they don't make that kind of power. But my problem with it is that I feel like when you put a bigger engine and not that much more power, you're starting to lose a lot of the characteristics of what makes the older car better. I mean, granted, I was never a fan of the Boxer engine, but at least it had, it was a little peppy. It had high RPM. It was kind of cool in that sense that it kind of gave you like that feeling of like, hey, this thing wants to, it's alive. When you put a bigger engine that has lower revs and the same amount of power, yeah, you have more torque. It gets going a little bit easier, but it kind of loses that personality. And I think that's, and with new cars, the thing with new cars is that they're so dampened from the factory that you lose a lot of that personality already. So I don't know. I have to drive it to really get, to really get the full feel of it. But honestly, I don't think this is going to be better than the previous car. Maybe statistically
Whoa, whoa,
wise,
whoa, whoa,
yes.
whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold on there. That's a bold statement, sir. You're saying
I'm
that
just saying.
this is not gonna top the original. Is that what you're saying? The first generation.
I'm saying in the sense of like feeling and like in personality. I don't think so. I think the previous car does a pretty good job of that, even though it's still missing a lot of power or whatever. But it's just not. I I think this is not. This is going to be more dampened. It's going to be a little softer. I don't know, man. It's just not. I don't think I'm going to be happy with it. I'm just predicting what I think. Maybe I drive the car and I'm like, you know what? I'm totally wrong. This thing is badass. But I don't see that.
What I know
So
what I find a bit amusing is that remember with the first car with the well actually the first 86 twins where
mhm.
they intentionally set up the suspension for the BRZ version to be more understeer prone so that way the vehicle doesn't drift or doesn't fishtail as easily as the FRS version or the 86 version.
Right.
And now for them to promote and market this vehicle, they're just has showing it just sliding all over the place. So I have to wonder is it I mean, does this mean that they're not going with that understeer setup, uh, or they're embracing
No,
the drifting?
no, it's just marketing. I mean, honestly, they could set up the car however they want, and I don't think the BRZ was a bad car to drift any, even with the softer suspension than the FRS. It's just marketing. It's like, what's the coolest way to market a car? Show it drifting. Everybody's gone to that in the last 10 years. All commercials always show cars drifting, so because it's the coolest thing you could do with a car.
Not
Like,
necessarily. Hey, throw it out into the dirt and have it go do some rally. What's wrong with
yeah,
that?
but it still slides around. It still drifts. People like the slidey things, so because it's something that a car is not designed to do. So people like that. So when they show that, they're like, "Hey, it's a cool car," And when they go, they're like, "Oh, it doesn't drive that well." But you already bought it, dude. You know. But it's look. I don't think I'm gonna like it that much. But at the end of the day, it's still gonna be a car that is gonna have a crazy aftermarket for a crazy following. And I mean, look, I'm criticizing it now, but look at the Supra. Okay,
Careful there.
everybody, hang on, everybody was hating on the Supra. It sucks. It's made by a BMW. It doesn't look that cool. And now there's a huge aftermarket for it. People, the people who can't afford it are buying it. And what does that say about you know predictions or how people feel about something the first time they see it. You know, look at the Corvettes, the C7 Corvette when it first came out. It's gross. Now everybody's like, I like the C7, and the C8, the same thing. Well, C8 I don't think was so polarizing, but it was still like people were like, oh, it's weird, looks like a Ferrari.
But what are
Now
you
I see a
talking about?
C8.
Of course, that was polarizing. The fact that they went with the minute and layout for the first time in its history, and
Yeah,
that the actually no, I take it back. Maybe perhaps that was more polarizing was the C7
yeah,
because you had the tail lights that were picked up from the Camaro, and then people are like,
yeah,
"Wait, what's going on over here?"
yeah, exactly. But now everybody loves the C7. So I mean, you know, what do you say about that? It's just perfect example. I when I was a kid, when I was a kid, and the 1999 Mustang came out to the auto show, I was like, that is the most hideous car I've ever seen in my life. What the hell were they thinking? I wasn't even a big fan of the previous one, but it looks better. Now I'm like, no way, dude. A Terminator Cobra, that thing is cool as hell. Or like a Mach 1, that's a cool
Cobra.
car. You know? Those are awesome cars. Now I'm like, yeah, I like the way they look. In fact, I'm looking into one. So, it's just your taste changes the more you see something. You start getting used to it and you start accepting it, and it's just like, you know what, man, it's cool. This might end up being one of those cars, you know. So,
I don't know why, but I'm
what can
looking at the rear end of it, and I just get the Buick Regal vibes.
I can see a little bit of that. Yeah, I can see that. I see Honda Accord, even a little bit NSX of the new NSX, not the old one.
Oh,
The
I see that. Okay, I
Yeah,
hang on. Let's pull that up.
it looks like a Honda in the back.
Let's pull it up.
Something there is screaming Honda. And not to say that those cars are bad looking,
Oh,
but
yeah, I can see some of that.
yeah,
Hang on. I'm trying
yeah,
to
you
find
see.
that. There it is. Oh yeah. Let's see if I can enhance it. Oh yeah, there we go. Hmm.
But anyway, those are my thoughts. Let's see when it comes out, when we get the production versions of it on the road. We get to test drive one, see what happens, see what we think of it then. By then, maybe I'll be like, oh, it's not a bad looking car because I change my mind all the time. And that's how I talk. So,
Um. Look, I've you brought up the Supra, and you brought up some of the criticisms that people have said about it, and quite frankly, my opinion on it has not really changed from my initial impression. So there are
right.
people out there that if a car that comes out is not doesn't cater to them,
Mm-hmm.
it just doesn't cater to them from beginning to end. So
Oh, yeah, I'm with you. But most people end up changing their minds. It's just that's what I've seen.
cool. All right,
Yeah.
no. Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Well, this was a very different episode, but I'm grateful that we were able to accomplish it. Hopefully, everybody enjoyed it. As far as drifting goes, well, I'm happy we had a 2020 Formula Drift season. I'm happy we still have local events, and I'm just happy that drifting is still going strong, even though the world is you know falling apart in some senses. Hopefully, we get back to a normal world. But yeah, we're here. Drifting's still strong. Bring on 2021. I can't wait.
Sweet. And with that said, guys, don't forget to check us out on our social media channels, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.com/drift sessions for everything that we do. Am I missing something? No. Usually you're the one that's fact checking me on this.
Well, I do want to bring up one little thing, and this is just a quick little tidbit.
Hurry up.
We, yeah, well, we do understand what's going on at OSW. There is something happening over there.
Oh
There's been some
gosh.
drama going on. But hang on. But I do know that the staff at OSW are working hard to rectify the problem, and we just want drifting to grow everywhere, everywhere. We just want drifting to grow everywhere, and we hope that this doesn't affect the drifting community uh, in Central Florida. So we're with you uh, as far as that, and hopefully we can get back to drifting at OSW. Well, there's drift events, but I just hope that the drama just falls off somehow. So yeah, that's all I had to say about it.
Alrighty. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope to catch you next time in about 2 weeks, hopefully in a much better setting.
Yeah,
And we'll see you then. Take care. Good night.
bye bye.